Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Lifting. Today's episode is being recorded on 10/25/25. I now open this circle to true benevolence and no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So, Joanna?
We are all one, and when one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, that only the highest good be done. We pray for you, your friends, your family, your loved ones, to let healing energies in. Let them love us, let them nourish us, and let them bring us to our highest good. We ask for benevolence now to come in with no conflicting agenda so that we may have this conversation in great understanding. And we ask for malevolent or mischievous type beings to be swept away so that we may have this conversation in peace. And with that, and with great blessings that we always send your way, we say, so be it.
And so be it. You may have just noticed the post that I posted to the GIC YouTube and to the GIC Facebook page, as well as comments on my own Facebook page and the lifting. So there's one thing I do have to say about that before we get into the topic. That was an inordinate and has been an inordinate amount of blowback leading up to, well, right now. And it's 8:23 p.m. while I'm starting this conversation on the 25th of October 2025. Pre-Halloween, but you're still within the Samhain time frame. And the Samhain, or the Samhain, is the harvest it's known as a very potent time for spells, magic. If you manage to push through it, you get a very potent spell put in place that is really long lasting. Very, very long lasting. This also adheres to viruses, contagions, and sicknesses, as well as etheric viruses, contagions, and sicknesses. This also adheres to empathic transference or some kind of empathic transferring of any kind, from human to ghost to human to all that, alien, human. Anyway, so this is the reason I brought this up, is this also goes off the previous one, a little bit of what you heard, the empathic one, and the about empaths and empathic abilities. But this goes more into etheric viruses, and the vampire contagion in the GIC material doesn't necessarily completely apply to this. I mean, I suppose there are, you can take the coding and change the frequency like the Philosopher's Stone and change it into something as long as you know the frequency coding and atomic number. I suppose it does. It's just like in the Matrix 4 where he made the strawberries out of the Matrix coding, or they did, the scientists did, in the city of Io. Yeah, that's completely a possibility there. Matter energy transference, like Star Trek transport. But with this, the reason I bring this up, actually, it's the Velodians that brought this up. I am merely just talking about a couple of experiences with this. I will just tagline a couple of them here. One, these were two dream sequences, and they come in primarily through the dream sequences. Never get bitten by anything in dreams. Falls under Dreamtime Invasion, most definitely. There were two experiences. There was one, and you probably heard me mention this way back when we had our Patreon years ago. So if you were ever on there, you would probably know about these. But there was one that was Joanna and I were in a warehouse. It looked like Quartzsite, Arizona. And where you would go from, or not warehouse, would go from like Morton building to Morton building, where they had all the stones and stuff that people could look at, and around the complexes. There was two of them, Tyson Wells and the Desert Sands thing. Well, what happened was, in this, I walk up to a table. She's walking over to my left. I walk up to a table, and this creepy zombified cat comes walking up to me and bites me. And I wake up, and my finger, this part of the index finger, felt really weird. And with that, I looked energetically, and there was like this weird venom blob there, like you just been bit by a snake or something like that. And I call these types of demons sugar demons. And the reason I nicknamed that a sugar demon is because they tend to come after people that have intaken quite a bit, an over excess amount of white refined sugar. And it's like the salt demon in Star Trek, where it would drain people of salt. This kind of reminds me along those lines, but they look like dogs and cats, but maybe those rat things from the movie Willow. But other than that, these things are creepy. And this thing bit me, and that happened, and I cleared it. The second thing uh, was I was battling this big cat, like a Lyran look. And this goes to the Lyran conversation as well. This Lyran look, but this would be more like a werecat, where like people that got scratched or bitten would turn into something like that. This falls along like with werecat or werewolf type thing. And what happened was, I remember ripping this thing's mouth open. I was standing on a table, ripping this thing's mouth open with my hands. What I do, hit the teeth like this, and teeth right into the fingers. What ended up happening was, I remember these Lyrans grabbing a hold of me. They all were dressed, looked like they belonged in a Renaissance fair somewhere. We were in this environment that looked like a hotel room, but it really meant safe space. Uh, not the comical kind nowadays. It's more like an actual quantum box that we were in. My brain was perceiving it as a hotel room, and they said, "Don't be alarmed. We're dragging. We have to put you on the. We have to. You have a contagion in your system. We have to check this." And dragged me over to an AI, put my hands on it, and it said, yes, such and such contagion been contracted, extracting now, blah, 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 blah. Left all these medical terms, had all these medical terms. And I woke up feeling weird, but fine. Now, in more recent days, I've run into some of these creatures, but only if I've intaken enough white sugar to probably take down an African rhino. So that's it. If you have this major like sweet tooth, chances are you probably have run into one of these things into a dream. Now, if that don't spook you into giving it to be Halloween season into not eating a lot of that crap, probably nothing will. And even our little schnauzer Winston back in the day had diabetes. I came to find out it was one of these things that actually harmed him, even though miniature schnauzers are prone to diabetes. That's no lie. Past age 11, they're prone to this. Big time at age 9, 10, 11. When he died at 11. This was something that I saw years ago when I was on Fletcher in Links at Lincoln in the apartments. That many of you knew that's where I recorded Diamonds 31 show from. So saw this in a dream sequence where it was like, at first I thought it was my mother's face, and it was this fanged mouth that it became. And I remember seeing Winston appearing behind this thing as this thing was heckling me. He turned around and goes, "Oh, I'll kill the dog then." He says this creature did. Wakes up and Winston's asleep, and I thanked him for that because he was in the dream time. And eventually he did die, and not well. And I did not know until my mother mentioned something here. How? But I saw it in a dream sequence where, again, one of these rat-like things, rat, cat, dog thing, scraggly looking thing, comes in and bites this emaciated looking dog in the face, making one of the eyes fall out. And the creature goes off into the living room. This was set on Hartley Street in the dream sequence. Goes and lays on this mat and is just brooding. And then my mother was all worried what had happened. And I found out that's how Winston died. The eye came out. And eventually, he got bony and everything. It was the same way that I'd seen in that. These signify some kind of sugar imbalance. They're attracted to sugar imbalances. And the reason I bring this up is I've seen these things recently within the past 6 months. One was like, they looked like a Persian cat in a dream. They again bit my hand and held on real tight. And I had to do the same thing. It was the same hand, heart hand. It went for the left side. And the reason I bring this up is the Velodians wanted to bring up etheric pathogens and venoms. Vampire, I suppose, but the legitimate kind have to come up to you and bite you. But the one that I encountered in Sedona many years ago, and I took the famous alien picture, I went to sleep that night, and there was a blonde-haired vampire-looking guy that approached me in a dream and bit me in the neck. And then a bunch of stuff went wrong. after that for me. So it does change circumstances, like with any demonic entity and or targeting. It will start to change luck, fortune, and circumstance. So it may and it'll make you sicker because there's a light body immunity, and then there's your immunity here. Now, this can you transmit it to other people? That's the question. Curses you can. I'd just like if I were to read somebody with a curse in place, of course I would pass that on. Can you pass that across the screen with an etheric virus that sits in a different vibration and not necessarily to somebody next to you? Absolutely, you could. Now, with why is this relevant? Well, they were wanting me to bring up the fact that also there's sexual things that can happen that way too. So many people have had the sexual dreams. Can you get somebody pregnant in a different dimension? They say absolutely yes. Can they do it to you? Yes and no. Because that is because there's such a frequency difference sometimes. Sometimes there's a body that embryo has to sit in to match right into whatever frequency that other individual happens to be, either to that other faster moving wavelength or here on Midgard. It can go either direction, and at any rate, if it didn't work right here, some aliens would probably retrieve the baby anyway, or the embryo anyway. So they brought this up. And they're basically saying this is happening a lot. And there's also links to our New Haven conversations as well, where some of those children, outside of the ones we've already mentioned in the 2 shows we've done about New Haven, both GIC and the lifting, that applies there as well. Go watch those 2. GIC about the colony of New Haven, and the lifting episode about the children of New Haven. So just go watch those particular episodes. Oh, somebody's not wanting me to say that. And go look for that back material because I would be reinventing the wheel if I mentioned any more on it. So the whole point is they wanted this brought up because of the fact that during the Samhain or the Samhain, as people like pronounce it, or the Samhain, this time is so potent. These curses could transmit louder. Etheric viruses and venoms could be. And werewolves are also known, like I said in the lore, for having a venom, turning other people into vampires, werecats, things of that nature, mutagens like witcher mutagens, all these other things. Weird transmutative viruses. They all hover around in this season of story-wise for a reason. Now, I didn't mean to rhyme either, but that it kind of hovers in this time frame, and for good reason. Joanna, I don't know if you want to add anything to this. So
Not right now. Just want to see who wants to come in and wanted to talk about this.
Yeah, this is actually a person that quite a while ago, and I'll give only a bullet point backstory. Many years ago, I wrote bits of a story of a script of which I cannot locate, by the way. It was this thick. It was about the thick, little bit thickness and a half, like a phone book. Of a phone book. Cannot find this anywhere. Going through all my stuff, cannot find it. So there was a bit about the MDTF. If you watch Galactic Interversal Consortium, you will see our recordings on the Multidimensional Task Force and other recordings the lifting did on the same subject. So what ended up happening was in that story sequence. If people want to know about the MDTF, go watch that. But they're in a universe that has multiple doors, multiple gateways. They had to create a task force to guard that. It's like Sakara in Thor Ragnarok, that whole story. It's part of the great Yggdrasil tree kind of thing for the multiverse. But they needed a task force. And also the way I set the story up is there were 2 lady cops and there was a lady boss that I named Bree McKnight in that, and she kind of had the Mickey Spillane, Mike Hammer kind of look. What I didn't realize how prophetic that name actually was. This was up recently. There is a figure that I've only known by one name, Jalis. And this is a captain that's on but I believe it's I want to say a Venusian or a Velodian vessel, because she's Velodian. Velodians and Venusians work quite closely together along with Lanialosians. And she's Elena Vess's boss. In this, they work with the NTTF, and Jalis's first name is Bree. So I found that was pretty interesting. It's like I'd always been in communication with a lot of these beings, but I did not realize the names. Unless somebody was just bringing it up to yank my chain too. But this was somebody else. So this was Ryan Pulling Carts that you actually have seen on multiple shows that actually picked up on this. He would have had no way of knowing that. No, that's the thing. Would have no way of at all of knowing that. So he just heard her say the name. Again, I'm open to being yanked, but that I've been my chain has been yanked, but still, I found that fairly synchronistic. So fast forward now to this moment. This person, if I could describe her, Venusian style uniform, which would be, but for medical, be like Starfleet men. You know how they had the blue? Some of them had aqua, or not aqua, but a lighter teal blue as well. She has this like blue stripe that goes down it, and like the silvery white-ish front, like the typical jumpsuit type. I call them onesies. That you can thank Isaac for that term too. Well, even though he wears one too, it's a white one, archival department. And the Velodians have a symbol right here that's a circle with a line that goes down through it. There's a bit of a joke going on that's the Quake symbol from the Quake video games from years ago. It's like the Doom style ones. But only theirs was up like that a little bit. So there's a bit of a joke going on there, but a bunch of with me and a couple other game geekoids. But with her and I had disagreements for years on policy, like how me and Valiant and Thor do on policy, like for political and societal. I have with Valiant and Thor. With her, I have it on medical. It's like what the Velodians do, and you want to see the Velodian episode of JC? That's going to be up on the YouTube here shortly. It's from further back, but they would like it public as well. So what ends up happening is to get around political loopholes, they will take an antigen of some kind, whatever it is you're wanting fixed, putting the codes of that, like what I said with the Matrix 4, with the Matrix codes being turned into something solid, they take your light body, put those codes in it, yo-yo you back here, and then implement that particular template. It's like a particular frequency being hummed within your body, like any of the like the solfeggio frequencies or the 111, 222, 333, all that type. Those frequencies doing different things in your body. Just like with the sound waves, they did those frequencies under sand, and it would form different mandalas. They even formed the Merkaba with the rings, like you see the lifting logo here. They had one similar to this on there. It's the same technique. Frequency here, you grab this one and bring it here and bring it here. It's the same identical technique for any of these things. Any and all magics have the basis is as above, so is below. So it's the same thing, and micro macro. So this is how they do this to get around the loopholes. You see, so this is one of the techniques they use. They want to come down here. They want to do they want to actually overhaul our medical system, everything. You can thank Solar Warden and some Galactic Federation policies for not allowing this. So if you want that to change, just keep putting it out there. You want that to change. So
what magically happened? Because to be quite open and honest with everybody, there was a period of time where neither one of you would have thrown a bucket of water on either one of yourselves if either one of you were on fire. And I will say that honestly, neither side, him saying they weren't agreeing is really just, mild, very mild compared to how I think they both.
It was turning into a MMA match after a while. It was the same with Valiant Thor too. So it's
the fact that this is who you're going to be letting through. What from your perspective before she comes through? Well, miraculously happened that this is going to be okay.
Yeah, there is some civility there. There is, we're kind of on a first name basis, but at the same time, I still don't agree with the
That is the first name, I think.
Ha ha ha! That's all I heard. But
I'm saying that to you too.
Um,
I'm just being transparent about this. This isn't somebody, again, that, Chris was just having a mild disagreement with. I just want to let you
no,
guys know that.
no, my
And
disagreement with her was, why can't people go back and forth to different planets and worlds when they already know about certain things?
I'm sure she's going to come through, because now I'm bringing it up, because we're going to be open and honest about all this, what her disagreements. But I'm just going to tell you guys, see, so this is what you got to get, is that you're thinking that somehow that when you are expanded out there doing stuff or whatever, that somehow you're a little more omnipotent and do not have,
Restrictions.
well, I'm going to call them mood swings. Swinging and feeling and passion and anger and disgust and all of these different emotions, but they do. And so,
Just like
yeah,
also to any
they
of
do.
you that do channelings and talk to these different beings, you may think that you are without restriction. I am here to tell you, you are not. Wholeheartedly, there are restrictions, even more so, put on you, because you do know and see things. See, like that angel's unaware rule. You rarely probably run across an ET because you already know they're a damn ET. They have to run from you if you know they're an alien. But they're gonna come around you if you can talk to them.
But anyway,
But anyway,
I'm just being, I
yeah.
just need to be honest with you guys that we're not talking now. We just certainly just didn't agree, and whatever, and we would just kind of respectfully go our ways. The respectfully part, there were moments where there really wasn't any
Mhm.
on both sides.
On both sides.
So
yeah.
I'm going to be honest about it, because, how can we have this conversation without being real about all of the
Yeah,
anger and passion and
and-
frustration, and she had just as much for you, which I'm sure still happens every now and then, that you both clash. But I just want to be honest about this, because this would be great drama TV.
Oh yeah, this would be a
Watch
great reality TV, and I'd be willing to bet, just like with South Park, with the Earth is the reality show, this is being filmed somewhere out there.
But I mean, I'm just trying to be honest, because this is what's real. This kind of situation where, again, you're not treating people as gods, that you're really having conflict, all of that stuff really occurs out there. And I think, again, depending on where your perspective is, being in the muck of it here, right? Seeing others that are not, that, you can certainly, everyone's entitled to their perspective, not saying that. But, obviously, when you're truly in the muck of things and you're looking at people, that you feel that they could do more. Do you feel that they should be breaking rules more? That you feel that, how can you follow a rule when someone else is suffering or humanity is suffering so badly?
Yeah.
From a boots on the ground, in truth, I have to tell you, if you did not have those feelings that I was just saying, to one of these groups of people who appeared to be following contractual rules over, what was going on to humanity, and you didn't have some harsh feelings about that, I would worry about you.
Yeah.
A human should, living in the muck of it right now. I am sure that there are feelings as well. We've talked about it before, about other races who, the consequences of breaking the rules put them in such harm's way. That's what is keeping them from doing it.
Oh yeah,
not that they don't want to do it, and it's all over the place. Some beings out there don't give a crap about humans. They could care less about what's going on.
And that's what happened with Isaac as well. He got hit pretty hard, actually. So yeah.
So I'm only bringing this up not to detract from any importance of this conversation, but I think we have to sometimes take pause, especially when, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't think this would ever occur from some of the passionate conversations, that were had, that it's like, but again, the one thing you can say, that even with those discrepancies, there's something important about trying to build a unity. And so, you can still start again and rebuild unities and trying to bring forth conversation that is helpful to all. And that's the outcome. But to say it started that way and there weren't rough times, that would be lying. And I'm not going to lie, because I do want people to know that you can do this for somebody for a while, and then you can still find a way to come back together and have very important conversations and work together on important topics. It's not one and you're done. And you need to start thinking about that with people just around you in general. So I'm happily surprised. I didn't know this. So this was a surprise to me. And I just am like, I'm bringing up the elephant in the room,
And the
whether
fact that
people know it or
and
not.
the fact that people have certain medical conditions down here, and I know I'm probably like an armchair general. It's like that movie All Quiet on the Western Front many years ago about World War I. You had the people on the battlefield, then you had the guys at home. All these guys would have to do is this, this, and this, and I'll probably find out one of these days I'm one of those armchair generals. More like, oh shush. She actually said I agree, but at the same time, there are some things they could do to bypass this and go, oh, damn, did I cure that disease? I just let the cure go in the atmosphere and in the water. Damn, I misplaced something. The humans think more like this than some of the people out there. Even when the Velodians spoke one time, like Shingo, when you reminded him one time of something, he came to a certain realization about how we are down here. There are some things that can be done that are kind of nonchalant. And in any situation, you could do a nonchalant thing to cure a disease that maybe they don't need to profit off of anymore with treatments. Things like that. This is something I have a hard time understanding why it won't be done. Maybe it's just us humans that think this way. I don't know.
I would hope any normal race in the same shoes, sitting here, boots on the ground, in a similar situation, I would hope they would all think the same way, because it means that there's genuine caring for, people around. So
yeah, and also I will point out there was a dream. Now this is where I first encountered her, or that I know of. First remembrance, let's just say, of encountered. But now I realize from writing that script, I was picking up on things that I was actually starting to get back from even much further back. That would be circa 2006-ish. And going through the accident in 2009 all the way up until the script disappeared, which was somewhere around 2000 and I'm thinking 15, 16, somewhere in there, or 17. So, but that said, I woke up laying on a gunny sack of some kind or some kind of mat on the floor with several other people in a darkened area of a ship. And I'm looking over in this garden-like area of a ship where sunlight's coming through, and there's a console inside the center, and there's these ladies that are on different consoles, like how you would see the bridge of the Enterprise, like say Enterprise D look in like console look. If you see Star Trek Next Generation, it was like that, and very reminiscent of Next Generation DS9 or Voyager. It was very reminiscent of that, I must say. That's Galactic Federation tech. That's where Roddenberry got it from. But seeing these ladies on the consoles, and one center one that was kind of off to the kind of curved over a little bit. And I get up. I know I've been abducted. I'm furious. And I see all these other people just sleeping. They think they're at home. And because of my heightened psionic abilities, the way I trained them, subconsciously, when I know something's going on, there's a red alert that goes off when I'm not where I'm supposed to be. And I automatically train myself to raise holy fucking hell when this happens. Who do I encounter to raise the hell with? Her. She is pissed. And she's white-knuckling her console like crazy, wanting to punch me in the face. And I'm screaming all sorts of obscenities at her and stuff like that. And I know the Velodians in this situation were helping. Even Shingo was saying, we deal with SSP PTSD all the time. We get where this is coming from. He says this, they say this, but at the same time, with anybody in any frustrating situation, if you encountered some homeless guy that came into a hospital or somebody that was just raising holy hell, those nurses are probably going to be like, mother, they're going to be like that. This was that situation where I was apparently the irate homeless guy. But then we've had dreams off and on where we're just going around peeing on things. This is one of those things at the same place. And I put a ping out there, put a telepathic ping saying, I'm sorry if I peed in someone's lab or ship or something. And I said, it's okay, man. We're good. That's all I got back. It was fragments of this dealing with Thelodians and also some good military people that were helping out with some medical stuff. But there's a flip side to this. There's the yield that you can thank. I always got to rag on Valiant Thor a little bit because he invented the yield in the 100 Years Disclosure narrative. You can go see our stuff on the conference from 2025 Disclosure Conference on that. But with this, I have the rod in my leg. I have various implants that had been put there from different programs from the time I was a child on. They removed one that was in my chest. They removed one that was in my back. They removed one in different places. But your body goes through withdrawal from each of these because it attacks the nervous system. I have deep muscle and nerve undulations as a result of who put this in. I found out there was an alarm going off the whole time that was driving my brain nuts and driving the nervous system nuts. Well, quickie way out of this, they take you to one of their laboratories and they remove them. And they rebalance the nervous system so you don't have to go through that. The yield dictates they can't do that here. And you can tell I'm being very agitated about this because the yield is one of the most unfair things to ever been invented here. And thank you, Valiant Thor. I'm not dumping completely on you, but with this one decision, I am. Now, rod in my leg, various other medical things that have popped up. Velodian science could fix every single one of them within the blink of an eye. Not allowed to use it here, nor will they take the chance to use it and cure all the things that I may have, she may have, my family may have. But yet we have to rely on him.
Again, yeah, I know he just speaks about us, but he means it for everybody.
Everybody. And also, but here's the thing. When they have you, they could just easily cure everything and put you back. But per the parameters of the yield, you have to keep up appearances. That's one of the main parameters of the yield. Keeping up appearances. You have to be reset to where you were prior to the abduction. Say if you fought and something happened, they have to quickly repair it. That's how the military ops do. Either the temporal ones or the regular ones have to reset you to where you were. I even had an incident where an ET was trying to heal me completely, and a military commander was basically yelling at him, saying, no, you're under contract. You put him back the way he was prior to getting injured. Not fully and completely healed. I was furious. I was screaming at to the top of my lungs to that guy. Same thing I was doing to Jalis. Same thing because I don't believe in the parameters of the yield. I fully am abhorrent to it. I don't see it as fair. It's complete at all.
And just to give fairness to this, many groups do not. However, as we said and we reported at the conference, something that is very real, and you've got to understand this as well. They enforce it. And they will enforce it.
It's a law, basically.
It's more than just a law where you get a slap on the hand. This is something that people die over. And humans have to understand that very good people, other races and beings, have died and been killed.
Over this.
So
how do you think Isaac got hurt?
It's very, very serious. We push the envelopes about this a lot. And again, you can get so frustrated that you don't care if anyone else get hurt. I think a lot of humans can understand that, when you're in such a place
and the frustration building out
and you need help or you want help for others that you don't care. You can almost make believe that these groups would not suffer any consequences for it, but they do. And it's for real. And so if the shoes were reversed, and we would end up facing some of those same choices. And so I think some of the perspective is, in all honesty, and again, this is me speaking, I think, of course, some perspective should be the consequences are very real, are very dire. Let us try to find every nook and cranny, exemption pathway, what we can do to skirt around these rules so that we survive and we can still do what we can do. So I can't I can't stress, because it sounds so much like make-believe, and I get it,
Yeah.
and everything, but I can't stress how serious, deadly serious
This
the
is.
enforcement of this is.
Very much
So
so.
what, I think,
Levick encountered this years ago and encountered the same thing.
right, and
yeah.
so we do push the limits because we know that more awareness on this will allow or force these things to be reviewed, where new contractual allowances will have to be agreed upon to allow things to progress at a little bit faster rate. If everyone on earth were aware that these yields were in place and this suffering did not have to occur, this would change, because part of it is the mystique of the fact that no one knows about it, so there's no energetic consequence. So if everyone knows and understands about these strategies, then there becomes an energetic push that ripples across everything that says this needs to change, and it needs to change now, which is kind of why we do what we do, to try to bring people into that awareness, to try to help people learn how to focus intention, to make that energetic bubble torsion field so large that there isn't any option. It must change quicker than it is. And so, but I certainly do not take lightly or say it's unimportant the fact of the risks, the true risks that very good races and very good people take in order to try to help as many people as possible. And they really do. I know humans would. If humans saw this happening somewhere else, a lot of humans would be willing to take the risk and take the, efforts to help any which way. But truly, it does you no good to be, as we say, taken off the chessboard. You've got to find a way to maneuver within it. But again, one of the key issues is that when we bring out this information, even if you're having a hard time believing it, just pretend as far as I'm concerned, pretend it's a storyline. Would you want this to continue on?
Yeah, and how would you rewrite it?
Again, what do you really want to occur? Because even if you only believe this was a story, how would you want the earth to be? How do you want people to be treated? How do you want these things? You don't have to believe me that these other races exist, but what do you want? And as long as you can have that conversation and you can start daydreaming in what it is you really want, that's how the energies work. You don't have to believe me, but just answer the question. What do you want to occur? And let then dictate how you think. Walk, as we say, the manifestation. If you want the world to get along, start getting along yourself with others. Find commonality, because believe me, if these two folks can find commonality after some of this that they've gone through, to be able to say, this is more important, we're going to come together to be able to bring this information out to help humanity. If they can do it, you can do it. I guarantee you, because sometimes you guys don't get to really see what's going on behind the scenes, but I bring it up because it's not a little deal. So congratulations. I will say that to both of you. I'm happy, and I am looking forward to this conversation.
I heard Isaac muttering, "Congratulations!" So
I mean, too. I feel that way because I'm like, wow, I didn't see this one coming.
yeah, and Isaac, yeah, when he got hit, this was ugly. I won't give the specifics unless he really wants to do that,
He'll
but
give it.
he will give it in all its glorious detail. I can probably assure you that. I don't want to speak for him. Right, that's all I heard. So, all right. He's out of his crotchety stage at the moment, but he still needs a little bit.
Oh, he's a pendulum swinging dude.
He's like
right
that.
now.
Pew, 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 pew. He'll be like fine, and then yeah, over
It's
here.
okay. Give him, send you
So,
warmth and love and healing, and you're going
but
to
he
be
will
just
throw an
fine.
obligatory joke in there every now and again. Even while he was like looking like a mummy somewhere, he was like basically he would say boobs or something like that.
Because
So
that's who he is.
yeah, so yeah. Oh, okay, jealous. Okay, man, dry throat. Yeah. Well, I don't believe. I don't remember. I think it was on the old GIC that you actually channeled once, quite some time ago. Uh, I reported something you said back then, back in the times of that ship where you're white knuckling. It was in that time frame, which was circa 2021, I want to say. Yes, okay. So I know Isaac has his cone of silence up, but he's saying something that's pissing her off. So okay.
Let's
Okay.
all get along right now.
All right. He's saying she has no sense of humor when it comes to commenting on her boobies. He does it just to make her angry. As you can tell, he is related to me in that respect because he will do that obligatory poking the bear. And she resembles one too. Oh, okay, we're good. We're done. Okay, let's see. All right. Okay, I will repeat one more thing and then I'm done with you for the moment. Just give it. Um, uh, no, she shushed him. He was starting to go. She'd be more hot if, and then she shushed him. Okay, that's all I got. Okay. Where do I begin? The reason he does not even understand the full breadth of his agitation towards myself. It was in a different time where he felt more free and open out there. And in this situation, he feels he is not. Oversimplification, mind you. But he sees me as the harbinger of doom when it came to removing him from a particular situation or tricking him into thinking it was one thing when it was another. Like say if you have, okay, let's see if I can use an example. Say if you have a person you're bringing to a nursing home and you don't tell them and you're saying they're going for a ride and you're really dropping them off there. But that's kind of what I did to him. Uh, on a spaceship, he thought he was on some routine thing, and then we had to drop him off back here. Not very nice, I know. I will be the first to say this. But I cannot go into depth as to the why, I or the how, but I can actually say he was correct before when he used the term armchair general, because it's also a compartmentalization thing where you don't know some of the other aspects of other things that are going on in a bigger operation. And this, I will say, sometimes, yes, the Oversoul does say you have a mission to complete. And we go by this unless we can see that the Oversoul is mentally insane or retarded. Then we don't go along with it. I will say this. This was applicable in both of those reasons, I should say. uh, to that situation. I cannot and will not go into detail on that because this was something that was delicate and it is still in operation right now. But I will say, towards your link to these viruses that you were bringing up, Yes, this can happen across great quantum distances, like the sinking particles argument, where you have one here, and you activate one, and one's activated no matter where it is in creation. This happens a lot. And yes, can you get someone pregnant over great distances? It's difficult, but not impossible. Over time frames, that's different, not difficult, but not impossible. Like your DS9 episode where they talked to somebody that was in a different time frame. Uh, in the whole Dominion War DS9 era, and this person was actually from some years back and was already passed away by the time they got to that planet because of a temporal field. Yes, yes, that has been known to happen. You never know who you're channeling from different time frames. I can tell you now, I am concurrent with your own. With some of these etheric viruses and or contagions, they are quite prolific, mainly via through the dreamscape. Ghouls, never let them bite you. This will cause heart conditions. Werewolves, never let them bite you. This will cause uh, fight or flight response differences, differences, compromisation, and you won't turn into a werewolf. Maybe on a light body type of situation. Some people say they walk around as a wolf in their light body. That's been known to happen. I can't say it's safe, but I can say that it's not uncommon that certain things happen. Where people are also seeing what they look like as their galactic self somewhere, or if they have a oversoul avatar that is like that, that's a galactic in a stasis chamber. That also has been known to happen, or in a different time frame. That has been known to happen. As I said, across time and space, and multiverse, omniverse, super omniverse, all of the above. What I'm here to say on that portion, the way you purge yourself of them is like with any sickness, taking care of the body. Venoms, viruses, doesn't matter from whence they came, it goes by with the same thing. Balance the body, balance the mind, and ground always. That's not why I'm completely here to talk. That was more the signpost to get him in the chair here. This one, also Valiant Thor, is part of this as well. To get everybody at the negotiation table. Because the Velodians, of which I'm a member of that society, but the ship that I captain is a multicultural ship, very much like you see the starships in Star Trek. You have multiple cultures on them. This is the one I captain. It is mainly a medical vessel, but there's other cultures that train with it. It's like you met Steven that time of the plasmatic, no, Isaac, he is not of the booger race. No. Booger also means demon, so no. You just mean the picking nose kind, the one you're more familiar with. But, because your finger is never not up your nose. Or up your butt, for that matter. We all kind of know each other out there, if you hadn't guessed. Him and I are more like, it's not necessarily frenemies. It's more like, I don't like you, you don't like me, but we have to work together. Because he doesn't like the fact that some of his friends and family over there are not in charge of the situation by which then they can bend the rules easier. You see. They see that as completely unfair. Like if you have a boss in a particular company or you have some politician in charge and you say, I would do that differently. Of course you would, because you're not me. But just like with Valiant Thor Injured Cold, we are company men and women too. We uphold the rules of the core, so to speak. And within those, the yield is part of this until a world is either a member world or is of a comparable societal equality by which then we can have equal standing. And I'm not saying humans are not equal. They are equal to us in every way, shape, or form. But you have to have at least a class 1 or 2 level society for us to talk on even terms. Class 1, you have to be united. Class 2 is more like earlier pre-Star Trek. Class 3 is Star Trek. You have to have at least a certain level before we can do this. It's that simple. There are rule breakers out there that try to accelerate this. You have also those that do it their way, like Valiant Thor, to try to bridge the gap a little faster. I blame him. And then you have humans going, why don't you do this, this, or that? I will tell you why. Yes, I know your little nonchalantness. Where, like, say, if you had your handful, have a handful of shungite and you're just throwing it in places, and nobody sees these things. How do you know these things are not happening in the background on a regular basis, for one? And the reason you are at a place you're at. And two, we do not believe in controlling people. Maybe some sects within the GF and some pirates and some assholes out there, of course. Some of which are your own kind, some of which are ours, and some of which are multiple factions. If you are all brought to this end of the spectrum, this end of the looking glass, you would be under heavy restriction. You wouldn't be doing this. You wouldn't be going on any road trips. You wouldn't be going and traveling the way you would like. Well, maybe out in the galaxy. Of course, you would love this. But on Earth, it would seem like a distant memory. It would seem as though an old friend, an old family member, was off in the background somewhere, unrecognized and uncared for. This is how some people feel. But yet not accessible. Even walking in a neighborhood. You say, well, why don't you get online and say you're incarnated this, incarnated that? How do you know we aren't, for one? And two, that's already been taglined as part of some narratives. It doesn't work as easily as you claim this to be. And anyone listening would claim to be. Now, we recognize Odin's also supremacy, not necessarily supremacy, but he has also sovereign rights in this system. We recognize the fact that he was disenfranchised. And now that also he has to work within a certain set of rules. Now, yes, he has gained enough of a standing, again, to where we have to fully recognize the Asgardian presence as policing this system. We fully understand this and can adapt to this. What we cannot do is fully open this world up. Yet. People must understand this, and I understand the suffering of others. But what he calls keeping up appearances is far more important than you think. Say if somebody's dying of something we have a cure of. Me, Valiant Thor, and others will be the first to want to do it. Hajimo, all of you, all of them, want to fix this. Would they get in trouble from releasing a cure for something that would disenfranchise a few elitists? Not necessarily. But they would get an enormous amount of targeting. More so than you realize, from multiple groups. I will say Isaac was on the verge of doing something, well, smart in his mind. Risky in all of the others. He was actually physically around you at the conferences. I will say this. He literally walked past you. Using a disguise, thankfully. But he was not unrecognized by some of the other factions there. Him and his brother Thorsden. Use fake names all you want. And fake masks. You have other galactic factions there that have their own agendas. And you have their human servants that throw curses and whatnot. You're going to get in the line of fire. And like what he liked to say, this could turn into Jerry Springer very quickly. What do you think happened in the background? Valiant Thor could only referee that for so long. And he was there as literally the referee. We were there too. Elaine and Vessa didn't show up in person down there. We weren't retarded. So Isaac did it just so he could be near you guys. And he took a bullet for you guys. Literally, in this case. It was not just the spit wads either. As he was so fond of talking about with Hajimo. Which I find hilarious. There's rules in place for a reason. But of course, you'll always hear from him and his little joyful, joking self after he's healed. Everybody will be talking as they normally do. If you think they're not mentioning something, of course they're not. He sees into areas that some of the psionics do not, or they pass off. And if they do pick up on something, they just think, "Oh, I must be picking up on something else." No, you're picking up on things in the background. Just like in his SSP time, when some Air Force colonel tried to trick him with a fake bug person, or a human that was embodying a bug person, and he saw through that and saw the guy he called Ludwig in there. He wasn't supposed to see that. He was supposed to interface. It was an interface training exercise. You're seeing past the training exercise, which is the ascension narrative from your three-letter agencies, and he's seeing past, and you're seeing past all of these things. That's not always a safe place to be, but it is a good place to be, getting the real information. And I'm not saying you guys have more than most, because there's a lot of people, believe it or not, that have this. And the 100 Years Disclosure narrative, and like your David McGowan that came through that time talked about some of this. And Spirit talks about this. But have you noticed how Spirit is operating lately? Brick walling those that get close to this. Why? Because certain events are supposed to play out, and certain members of your soul family don't want you harmed and don't want anybody harmed. And then you might be saying, "Well, Bree, why don't you guys just step in? You have more powerful technology. Why don't you just take over, like in the storybook? The hero that comes on a white horse with a gleaming white set of armor and a sword or a lance." Because that's not our role in this. We have the cures, of course, and are we letting some things out? Yes. But you are also not the ones with nuclear warheads pointed at you either. So, and there also, you don't know how many factions are around that do not want your world or your planet opened up to the rest of the galaxy. That means they don't get to commit crimes. That means they don't get to pull scams. They don't get to run their narratives. It all goes away. If you want that to change, you go for it by putting it out there. They hear you. We definitely hear you. But there are certain things, certain lines, that you may have also perceived that we have already crossed, because you think we're in agreement with these secrets and with these lies and with this, and people suffering and being tortured. No, we do not agree with this. But in order to keep that balance, some things are not completely cured. They are reset. They are, your own belief that it is there also sometimes hinders things. But they are reset to the point where you can manage it the rest of the way. He was refusing to manage it because he knew, seeing through all the veils, he knew we had cure-alls for things. But this was a different time, a different place, a different energy, and a different frequency. So, I can go into questions.
So, but you can understand,
including computers that work properly that he can speak to, and they do the thing.
Right. So there's a lot of frustration from this side, from folks
that have been out there.
And are remembering that, because there's such a clash, you know what I mean? And again, basic, decent people, obviously, it's hard to understand the perspective of not bringing it through. I'm not judging. This is not a judgment statement. This is just an understanding. Because as much as I understand that, I understand the perspective as well. Mm-hmm. Because it's no joke what is truly enforced and what a person is subjected to, or a group of people. if they are caught breaking it. It is no joke. It's as serious as anything you can think of that happens to someone, down here. The whole wad of it, really, if you start to think about it, any angle you look at, you should feel sick about. I feel as badly. I couldn't imagine being in a position where had to stand by and watch something, right? I mean, so I see it from the multiple positions of perspective of where you're standing. So this is just coming from me, that, that I get how difficult it is all around. I do still believe that the more we put out the information, the more we make people aware, the more people consider, could this be true? Do I want this true? No, I don't want this true. That those coalescing energies themselves will push things along at a faster clip. I mean, I do believe that. So that's kind of why, why we do these things. And I'm all about finding ways around anything.
Oh, there's loopholes all over the place. Some would argue, why don't you just go right for the jugular, as he would say. How can I put this? Okay, say if somebody's in a situation, he saw a show many years ago that was about one of the agencies, and somebody runs up to one of the agencies. They're trying to find this person in the neighborhood that was helping them solve a case. But all the public knew of this person is that they were a pedophile, and that they felt the government was working with them. And so this woman was going around as like a Paul Revere saying, they're protecting a pedophile, they're protecting a pedophile. That is the difference. The person wasn't actually that, it was an op. So, in that respect, this is the difference. You don't have all the information. You know what you've amalgamated in your memory, and what you've been told, and what you're picking up on, and what others have added to the pool. Nothing else. You're picking up on what's beyond that. You know far more than you believe you know, because you're picking up what's really there and the unfairness of the situation. But like that Paul Revere lady in the show that he saw many years ago, and you saw what was behind the scenes, and you saw the person. That's the difference. People go by what they've been reading, what they know, and good, they're paying attention to it because a lot of it's true, with the exception, of course, the yield parameters. But there's some stuff that isn't known that you would see as completely and utterly out of context if we put it out there. It would look like, say, if you went to a grocery store and you saw your normal produce section. Then at the end of that produce section, suddenly there was a lingerie stand. Or, yes, Isaac, I'll say it was a sex toy stand. Thank you. He likes to make me uncomfortable, but I am not. He wants to be a creepy creeper. Fine. We will go this way. He wanted to say dildo stand, but I have limits. But he's coming back to his normal self this time. Wait till he gets in a crotchety mood when he doesn't feel good.
It'll swing the other way. Folks.
It'll go the other way, and he will be the meanest son of a bitch you've ever seen. I think you find that familiar, because they're related. But anyway, it would look totally out of place, wouldn't it? And then nobody ever gave you context as to why that stand was in the middle of a produce section. And yes, Isaac, I understand to some people it will be a dead-on match. That's you and your fetishes. Okay, probably bad example because part of that came from him. But you get the idea. It doesn't belong. Or does it? And he just made the analogy that some people have fruit fetishes, but some people don't know of those things, you see. Of course, Isaac, you would bring up the sexual fetish analogy, but it happened to work this time. But you get what I'm saying. Totally out of context to people that didn't know the information behind it. But now you do. Now it's actually more gross than anything else. So, anyway, he said speak for yourself, but we're done with that for the moment. Anyway, he will keep going on and on and on with the innuendos and the puns and okay. Anyhow, He threw off a whole bridge crew with that one time. But anyway, when we were in a precarious situation, bad timing of bad jokes and bad puns. But anyway, in a situation where you know your environment, you know how a store is supposed to be aligned, you know what aisles you would possibly find things in. What if that store became misaligned one day and things from hardware were suddenly in with food and things that were frozen food items were suddenly thawing on the toy aisle? You would be remiss if you didn't point it out. This looks out of place. And then say store personnel came up to you and went, "No, everything looks fine to me." You would not have context for this. This is what I'm telling you now. You believe you have the context. You have more context than most. Those you call asleep and awake, which there really isn't any such thing, by the way. It's just everybody has their lanes to be in. They don't always have to be informed in the same thing you do. One day this will be different. They will be informed of us and everything. They will still have their positions, their interests, their things. Yes, Isaac, and their fetishes. Thank you for being gross one more time. But you get the idea, their preference. It will be no different. Those have more knowledge. But some will still specialize in the areas that they are meant to be in. It's a fallacy that everybody would know the same thing. It would be like Star Trek or Star Wars. Like in Star Wars, people could repair their own ships again. People will begin to repair their own vehicles and their ships and do everything out here. We do the same. That will be the same thing, but everybody will be their own individual person. Even though you are all one, like you say in the law of one still. You're all your own oversouls and avatar souls. But what I'm trying to get at is the context. You know of the whole thing where your science is a little off, your mathematics and physics are a little off. There was some of that was yield, some of that was propaganda that was thrown in there. But there's still some things that are a little off. That like, oh, this is impossible, or this being's impossible, or this, And skeptics are skeptical of mostly everything, and they're skeptical of the thing versus the intent of the thing, as he what likes to say, or skeptical of the entity versus the intent of the entity or being or alien. I fully agree on that, believe it or not. What I do not agree on is he, meaning him, sees this situation, remembers the things and the unfairness, even though he doesn't have all the memories. And he believes that's all it is, because that was based on his experiences. And you'll run into people that are like that as well. It'll be based on their experiences, what they've heard, and you don't know how many times, even in what he calls abduction scenarios or helping out type of scenario, where I have heard ad nauseum that they think I'm some kind of either reptilian trying to harm them, or they think that I'm some alien trying to help them, or some angel trying to help them, or something of that nature. It is based on the beliefs in which they are in. The Velodians as a whole have used this to their advantage as a legal loophole, and that's why they got the nickname Soul Doctors. I don't really continue. I don't really subscribe to this. Again, I would rather do as he wants, believe it or not. I'm just not a wrecking ball to get there, because he does. You guys, even people watching, don't have all the context behind what you are looking at. In his script, he even wrote stuff about Atlantis, a Catholic church-looking building being on Atlantis, and almost like a church-like with robes and everything, the mitre hats, everything. It seemed out of context. He even wrote that it seemed out of context in a dream sequence he wrote about. And it was 100% historically accurate, because that's where your church styles, clothing, buildings all came from. It's all hand-me-downs from Atlantis. It's all Atlantis. He had it correct. But at the time he wrote it, there was no context. This is what I'm trying to get at.
So I personally, I think I think everybody, hopefully everybody gets it. I know for some people it still won't be gonna, I get it. But I do believe wholeheartedly that we do not have and Chris and I have had discussions on things like this before where I believe we do not have context. I believe that we do have context. We don't have the memory of the
Yes.
context. So
Yes,
I
it's
do,
there, but it's not there.
right. I
The
do
paradox.
believe that, and everything. So I'm not,
That's what he's
Be-
grabbing onto when he's
Right.
seeing these things.
I don't really myself, again, this is just me. I don't like beating up on people,
No.
but I do get angry and frustrated when I see somebody around me in so much pain. And so that's when it would be normal
Of course.
for a human to also want to scream out for some effect when somebody else around you is in so much pain. And I think you guys get that.
Mm.
I don't think we need to belabor this because I got something better that we want to talk about. So life can be quite interesting. So it's interesting that we're talking about this subject matter of viruses and different things and how they're passed. And I will say, okay, you're thinking the most of this happens with the invasion of deep dream times and invasions of this, that, and the other. I want to bring up something else. For some crazy reason, Chris and I have always seemed to be at places at weird times. So, for example, when we were in the Outer Banks, when we happened to show up, and anybody goes there at night, it's really dark, and happened to be watching the beach, and we saw a fireball come in a wave outside the water.
Somebody gave you a gift in that
Somebody
way.
showed us something. There was a fight going on. Something was going on that we literally were able to talk about it at that time. That was truly fire rolled up in a wave coming on shore that was actually coming from some event that was going on out there. I wish there was some way that we could have captured that properly for you guys to see it because you wouldn't believe it.
Burning gases within the water to give the appearance of water being literally on fire. It is really the plankton that was giving off the gases by which then the little battle that was going on underwater then ignited those gases, therefore they would burn under the water and the water was on fire.
It was the most amazing thing. I'm going to tell you that. So that, that happened, to us. So other instances happened to us as well. Happened to us on Sandbridge, where we went out there one day and normally we'll walk the beach. It was one of those moments where it was so uncomfortable energetically that we knew something horribly was going wrong.
The same fighting that was going on that you saw with the burning water was going on there. It's with your military and the Myrmidon. Those two like to wave their wieners at each other constantly.
So again, I say that because sometimes Chris and I call us the bumbling. We just bumble around. I don't know that honestly, I don't know if it's a mistake or not, but we just seem to basically bumble into things and then we like to share these experiences because again, we've been there plenty of times since. That energy is gone. There was really something going on. We could feel it and everything like that. So I find it kind of interesting that you're here talking today because something happened today. And I'm sure you know what I'm about to bring up. So I'm going to find this interesting, this discussion. We actually went out to walk the boardwalk in Virginia Beach. We like to do that just again to take a nice walk in the sun. It was a nice day. The waves weren't that crazy. We had some storms here. It was a little bit calm. It's always a joy to see other people out walking about, watching the kids play. So we're just doing our normal little walk and looking at the water. And I'm looking at the water. And then I'm looking at the clouds. And then I'm looking at the water. Because there is a coloration difference going on in that water that actually wasn't the clouds doing it. And it was a long area of something really dark. I couldn't figure it out for a while, but we actually, it was bothering me tremendously, more so than it was Chris, because I knew should it be there? And what ended up happening, kind of like that fireball rolling up on, it did come in. Some of it still went down, further and further in the ocean. Some of it started coming up upon shore. I didn't know what it was. It upset me because of the fact that sometimes people surf or whatever, and every ounce of me did not want whatever that was touching humans or coming onto shore. There's a lot of big boats out there. Didn't know if it was an oil slick, but I don't think it was. But watching this whole event occur with something now coming onto shore, my concern was, is this going to make people ill? What is it?
You are actually more on target.
Right. So the reason I bring this up today, what we literally saw happen.
You normally weren't supposed to see that.
I know, because we bumble around and we end up being in the right place to say this.
Bumble is not the correct word. Connecting and synchronizing are.
Okay. So I'd rather, so I kind of figured it was something like that, but bumble sounds better. So we bumbled around and we were in the right place to see this, and this has upset me. It upset me then seeing it, because it was much larger than you would think an oil slick if somebody had lost something. It was very upsetting to see. I literally was hyper focused on where are all those surfers and is it hitting them directly. That bothered me, but I really didn't see anybody because the waves were calm. So there really weren't a lot. And I was like, thank God there weren't people out there. It continued on where we would normally leave at the inlet, but the part of the slick continued on down further. And just like what had happened with those fogs that made people sick, my concern at that point was, holy smokes.
They're using the salt water as a delivery system. You happen to catch the little stink cloud. Think of a squid inking. This is a type of delivery system. He first was surmising black goo. That is not it. It cannot come out in that format any longer. It's been contained for the most part. I don't want to say it's barely there, but there is some little things. The Arcturians were slightly understating a little bit, but they see it as not a big deal. That's why they say it's not a big deal. It's their perspective. But with this was a delivery system that will make people more sick. How can I put this? He and your friend Bjorn were warned of different narratives involving sicknesses that they were going to try. This is one of those things. The inking, we'll just call it the inking. They found a way to deliver it into the salt water and for it to remain potent. They've actually done this multiple times recently at night. And there were times where they had to deliver it. Like when you take a pill, you have to do it at certain times. Most people don't notice. And it's more virulent in cold weather, like how viruses would be. This is, how can I say this? The direction that it was flowing, like he said, you said you saw it going towards Rudy Inlet. This particular black inking is designed to make people ill. It would appear as almost like salmonella poisoning. And they will blame things like shellfish, old fish meat, things of that nature for making people sick. I can say this because it's already occurring. You're just seeing it in your area. This is one of those narratives going around, but this is also something that is pissing the Myrmidon off. This is your military doing this. Not the ones that you would see jogging up the boardwalk. These are your deep state types. The ones that want to flash their wiener at the Myrmidon. But the Myrmidon like doing it back. I must say, they like toying with them like a cat toys with a mouse. So they're not entirely faultless in this, let's just say. But Poseidon's people tend to sometimes some of them they're a little vindictive, but some of them I understand. Let's just put it that way. I understand why. They once ruled that coastline, and now you have to put up with this nonsense. I fully get it, like how you guys are frustrated. I fully get it. And they come and go through the oceans, the lakes, and the seas, and everything, and dimensional spaces. They want the world opened up too. So do the forest people. But at any rate, that slick will be considered to be a poison. They won't mention the slick or the inking. They will mention that certain foods in the area are not good. And then they'll try to cause a shortage, like they did with the shortage supplies or burning those chicken plants with the eggs and the chickens, and burning the food, like what he said. Kit Carson did to the Navajo by burning their livestock, or like in your Dances with Wolves movies where you see the cavalry killing all the buffalo to get the Native Americans corralled in one direction. This is one of those types of events. They like to do these little small pecking ones, like, oh no, look at this. Look at it's coming right for us. That kind of thing. Continuous distraction, 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 distraction. Like you saw your Tucker Carlson talking about that time, trying to compound, like what that German man he was talking to was trying to. They were trying to stack negative things on top of each other, so that's all people remember. People were oblivious to that because they weren't seeing it. You guys saw it just like the burning water. Somebody was meant to see this. Nobody else saw this. They thought it was shadow, like what he was saying. Everybody around him, he was picking up on it empathically. People around him were thinking this must be a shadow and light.
Right.
He knew better, but he was picking empathically what the passersby were saying. This must be shadow and light. No, or oil slick maybe, but they basically went from cloud and sun and shadow and light. This was an inking. You were seeing the delivery system of the toxin, is what it is. Like a squid shoving ink in your face. It's the same difference. They found a way to manipulate squid ink or kraken-like ink to be the delivery method. Like in medicines, where they have a carrier for something, like say his one blood pressure medicine he had, losartan, it would wear off only after a couple hours without that other enzyme carrying it. The ink that you saw is the carrier, not the thing. That's what I can tell you.
So, besides being quite sad, because again, it was large, folks. I don't even know what size.
That's why it dispersed quickly, because it was the ink dispersing in the ocean. Yes.
Yeah, and you could watch, and what you would watch is that, again, it's not like we have Gulf Coast beautiful water. Our water is kind of muddy and stuff like that, but there's a greenish to it. And so literally, I think the way you described it caused an inking. So you see this kind of greenish water, but then these long ass patches. For a while, when I first saw it, I was like, what's wrong with my eyes? That's what my mind goes, what's wrong with your eyes? Why are you not seeing this correctly? You'd see this greenish water with this long, dark thread. It's almost like this huge thread, and it was all attached to one another, and I can see how people could trick their minds into saying, oh, it's the clouds casting a shadow, but it wasn't the clouds. And when the water turns, and when these small waves you would have little teeny white caps. Okay, everybody knows what I mean, a wave and a white cap, but they weren't white when that dark hit it. It was now gray caps. Okay, just to let you know. So inking, I think, is a great, word to really describe it. And part of me was like, I wonder if we could see the darkness of the sand if we went down there. And then part of me was like, don't you go anywhere near
You
that.
are correct in doing so. You would have been slightly ill if you had done this. It is dispersed now.
Mm-hmm.
All they needed was a few people to get ill in their little plan. So to get the ball rolling, the rest would be propaganda. You see, it's stage playing, shadows and light,
Right.
Smoke and mirrors.
So it's obviously bothersome.
Stage crafting, I should say, yes.
Right. So it's obviously bothersome when you see human on human things that are occurring. And as you say, for whatever their reasons are to cause problems, scarcity problems, whatever it is they're trying to do with this kind of drama, to cause issues. But like these other times when we were around to see it, there's no doubt as to what, I saw and what we saw. And I was very, very, like I said, grateful that there weren't a lot of surfers and people in the water during this time frame.
They didn't want a lot of people in the water when this happened. But the thing of it is, No one has seen them do this before. And if they have, they don't really think of it. Like I said, shadows and light. They don't cloud cover sun. Like what he was again picking up from what people were thinking about it. Nobody really was thinking about it. And whenever they get sick, it's going to appear more like it's salmonella poisoning or food poisoning.
And we do have visitors, so they're gonna go back to wherever they came from.
Yes.
And they may then, if they do an epidemiologic study, where were you? They're going to be able to pick up where they were potentially when they started to become sick, and then they'll blame it on something. That's kind of the
Yes.
playbook that we're saying. You
Yes.
go to a place where a lot of people from a lot of different places go, so you have an epicenter. You've caused an event at an epicenter. People all go back. They start to get sick. They're able to point, and then they're going to blame it on something.
Food, because they'll blame it on food, and that'll also try to diminish your economy, you see, and businesses. Again, trying to cull that down like they did during the pandemic, you see. But they did it more, hastened it here. But they're still trying to do that. They want to find any other way to do that. Granted, this is the side effect of it, but it was still part of the narrative in the plan. And the only reason I'm telling you all of these things is because this is something that we do not even wish to happen.
Right. And because I'm bringing it up is why you can talk about it, I'm assuming. So
because you're in the medical field, you're bringing it up. You're talking to someone else in the galactic medical field. You see how this works.
And he's channeling, and channeling is going around the rules.
Yes.
So this is why we're able to do this right now, because we're using all of the rules around the yield to be able to have these conversations.
This is why I hastened this conversation. Also, this goes back to other frequency and etheric viruses and contagions.
Right. Because again, this unfortunately is another subgroup of how some of these things happen, and it's not.
Stub would be the best word to describe this, by the way.
Right. So, interesting delivery system. So, literally. So, what I think everybody needs to understand is that viruses and contagions, yes, through dream times, but unfortunately, also through other means where society is still unfortunately dominated and controlled for specific purposes that are not for humanity's highest good. People need to really be aware of that, and again, start understanding you need to be putting out a co-creative process of making these things not happen. I keep getting blown away, honestly, when, again, I know you're not calling it bumbling, but I like using the word, when we bumble across something that is very, very real, and it's like, holy smokes, what is that is about? So for me, when I heard you guys were coming in, and that this was because I didn't know until Chris started talking, I didn't know what we were talking about. But then as soon as he started talking and I'm like, well, I know what we're going to be talking about, because
yes, he partially had forgotten about this, but that's because we're also trying to get him out of his OCD of trying to have to do it at a particular moment and try to offset things to when they're meant to be spoken about.
No, and that's great. I'm all for that. I really am all for that. I don't have a problem with impromptu anythings, but I have to laugh and say, guys, this is one of those moments where I didn't even know what we were going to talk about until it started to be talked about. But I do have enough faith, honestly, that, whenever things get talked about, okay, we're going to get into sync and we're going to have a good conversation about something. I do have enough faith in all of us and who we deal with, that, that it's going to be just fine, and something of importance and interest will come up. So I do have that faith. So I'm not afraid of it at all, just personally to say that. And in all honesty, it is better to do things this way, because no one is then prepared for what we are going to be talking about.
Yes. And also they did it at a time where it was colder and people wouldn't have been in the water. They just wanted it washed up a little bit. They feared a few people sick, then they would point to Virginia Beach Boardwalk. So by the time people see this will have averted about 9/10 of this. This is how we can interfere.
Good.
For now.
And we will be happy to be a part of any aversion of anything like that. And so
You
now,
shungiting the water there actually helps too.
well, good. And also,
Matches the color.
if you see something weird going on, folks, don't be afraid to mention it.
It's one of those see something, say something.
See something, say something. So, I'm still a little bit blown away, honestly, of what I saw and how I felt about it. I still am a little bit, I'm sorry, I'm upset about it.
Yes,
So-
you should be. Just like that burning water years ago. There are other things that have happened in the Outer Banks of which you are unaware. The pissing match between those with large balls and those with no balls have, and you can probably just guess which is which, of them fighting in that area has resulted in an obnoxiously loud bit of weather and also weather control. You saw what has happened in the Outer Banks.
Mhm.
So, recently, and also your Rodanthe is right near an area that some of this fighting is going on. It's right on the outer edge there. Your Outer Banks, he likes to joke and says, the Outer Banks takes a bullet for Virginia Beach, and Rodanthe takes a bullet for Outer Banks, just like your son says. But all joking aside, that's actually what happened because of the where it's outstretched. So this is all related to the same thing. It was a submarine delivering the inking. So when you said sub, that was more prophetic than you thought.
Mhm.
You're picking up on it just like he was picking up the thoughts of the people about the shadows and light. When you see these things, just know you're meant to see them. Others are oblivious to this because they're like with say chemtrails and chem clouds. Like you made the comment earlier. People thought they were disappearing only in some localized areas. Others, it's more so. It's just a perspective of the little bubble you're living in. Just like the encoding decoding issue, like he always cites that Voyager episode of the Q Continuum, where it looked like the Civil War, where Janeway thought it was all from the 1860s. No, it's an encoding decoding. Q says it was she wasn't seeing it right. You're basing it on the area in which you know. You're being introduced to areas, and people are being introduced to areas they're not used to. They may be, he always says, well, don't they see it in Star Trek? Don't they see it in Star Wars and all the sci-fi? Disclosure. Yes, that is a taste. And it's very good that that's been put there because then people will expect certain things. But again, context. Would any of those people know what the real context behind that was? No. You did because you've had experience. You knew there was something to this. But nobody would suspect an inking in Virginia Beach, and especially near the boardwalk.
Well, because of how large it was.
Yes, and then even if somebody had spotted that was in like weather or in oceanography or something, they would say it was a certain oceanic event. What's also near you, the Nas Oceanic as well. What did you encounter years ago back in Carrollton? A group that called themselves the Nas? Where do you think they were transmitting from? He thought they were a Mer. Those are military you were dealing with at the time. And also, from where that oceanic is, deep down in the trench is where he has a memory of being in a base, arguing with a captain over not tricking the Myrmidon into firing at a suit of armor he was wearing. This was something they were trying to one up the Myrmidon. Some other cadet was killed over this. But the Myrmidon are only defending the trench, or defending off the shelf there, because that's where their sentinels are. Your military has the means to go into certain frequencies, you see. Like with spacesuits, kind of like the Babylon 5 encounter suit. So, with the Vorlons in them, same difference. With the Sheridan being rescued by Kosh, and Kosh comes out of his suit to show himself. What did people see when they saw him? They saw their own demigods and deities because of the frequency difference. And the suit made it so he just looked like every other alien. This is what I'm talking about. finding a suit that will hasten not only the encoding, decoding, so they see things properly, because they find it just as annoying as you would. They find it even more so. You would think that they would have seen it enough. But he remembers encountering the Myrmidon, and he turned away and didn't want to help the military calibrate an armored suit so they could wage more war on them, and they blamed him for not taking human side and being a rogue. That's a memory of his from back then. That's perfectly legit. And back off in that area, that is where this is all going on. And off in the distance where you were seeing some of those freighters, ships and such, deep beneath in that area is where the inking took place.
Because people could say it was somewhat of an oil spill or
Yes.
something went off a ship.
That's why some
like
people
that.
were thinking oil, some people were questioning it, but a lot of people saw it, but nobody saw it for what it was. Because there was no context. You had some context to surmise what it could be, and you were absolutely correct.
Right. So just
Having been in the programs too, you're remembering some of the devious, fiendish, evil, fiendish crap that these people have pulled.
that seems to be my specialty, to remember all the strategic dirty shit that they like to pull.
You're bringing this back. What, like you always say, bring back the SSP stuff that's needed for the moment.
Mhm.
You are, because you're recognizing the crap they're pulling,
Right.
and he's recognizing the crap they're pulling. This is where the memories are needed. You can still maintain anonymity, and also sovereignty, as well as not be linked to any program, but yet you still can pull something out of the file cabinet, out of the library, read a little passage of book, or read an article, or like a notification from, or like you have on your phone, or an article written by somebody basically telling you in your subconscious what those things are, because it's a memory. You've seen it 1,000 times.
Right. Okay. Well, again, I hate to bring it up that, unfortunately, awareness of some of the just garbage that continues to go on. Hopefully people, again, will say no to this, say no to this, and say no to this, say no to this, and put out there that no one becomes ill from this, and keep people as healthy as possible. Bringing awareness to it so it fails miserably should be our goal right now. So
And also during the Samhain or Samhain time frame, they also know certain things are more potent in certain energies. Just like when you begin some of your AI things in Sedona, it's more potent area. They know this. They're not stupid. They understand the significance, even though they've propagandized it to make people think that it's a child's holiday. They are not dumb. They know the PowerPoints. They know they've been shown and trained on the PowerPoint about the PowerPoints. Let's just say that. That's part of the training.
Okay. Well, again, a huge congratulations to you and Chris to be able to find some common ground to be able to communicate through. Tip my hat off to actually both of you for being able to do that. I'm joking only a little. I'm really quite sincere. So, good job with that. So I'll just leave with any final words for this show that you'd like to say before we go out.
Yes, we were actually present down there when you saw this. Did our telepathy and our energetic presence holding the space make it so that you noticed it? He was thinking this, but no, that's on you, because just like when he went to the dentist and the dentist removed one of those glowing implants that time, and he saw the weird deer in headlights look, or lack of blood to the brain look, as his mother calls it, on the hygienist's face, and he asked if he could keep the implant. The person went, no. He was never really originally supposed to see that. That was an in-between time where it was a glitch. Some people call it a glitch in the matrix kind of thing. I fully agree with the analogy. It's because that means encoding, decoding. It's in a frequency layer you're not used to seeing the context for. So therefore, what would you understand about it? Or like in your WandaVision, where Vision would come up with something and she'd erase his memory, and he would be back in his narrative in that as a tulpa in that story. That's exactly what's going on. You're outside of it briefly, seeing this and then shifting back in. That's what happened. because you have more context. So anybody that's seen these weird and strange things, it's just like what was said in the Matrix. That's aliens, werewolves, vampires. It's basically the Matrix doing something it's not supposed to be doing. That's a good analogy, but it's not a simulation. It's just some things are happening that some people are either breaking rules, making things visible, or people are seeing them because they're seeing slightly outside of what they normally would see, or if they're seeing it, they're like attributing it to something they already know. People call that a glitch in the Matrix. Or if there's a weird cloud-like UFO, which I'll hide in that, or like that video where you see a cloud in a parking lot going towards a van kind of thing. And people don't know what to make of this, and even the equipment doesn't always know what to make of it. And even the AI will identify it as something because humans built this. So, and people are seeing this as these things, and it doesn't always look that way, or like those beings that look like an orb with long legs and stuff. These are dimensional beings that aren't translating right. He would say it's like the Farscape conundrum, where the alien took the form of Crichton's father, comes through because he comes through from a dimensional space, looks like a Muppet, and then shapeshifts into his father's form because he said he normally doesn't look like that. He had a completely different set of physics he's from. That's what these things are from, but your brain's not translating it right. Neither is the camera at first. And some people look at the camera and go, wait a minute, this looks different because they're starting to blink and see what it is. Like you had your Randy Kramer talking about the Scarecrow from Wizard of Oz. He talked about the Avengers, the Iron Man and Thor. He even saw it in a dream sequence recently where he thought he was in like a McDonald's setting with a statue of SpongeBob SquarePants. That had nothing to do with SpongeBob. It was on a spaceship, and and him and his friend Bjorn were on this, and he was looking for you. This was a spaceship that was fairly large, and it had a cafeteria like 10 forward. The attendant there said, "You're not seeing SpongeBob. You're just not translating it right." And then he happened to see the SpongeBob poster at the movie. When you went to the movie theater, and it was just this rotating hologram. It was a hologram of an alien that he wasn't familiar with. Therefore, his brain saw it as SpongeBob SquarePants. You see, and some people have reported this to me while in abduction or healing scenarios where they thought they were looking at SpongeBob and Patrick. Weird, but those are ET-like beings that are around us, like how Stephen is a plasma type being. If they saw one of him, they actually saw one of his people and thought he was Patrick Star and his friend was SpongeBob. That's happened. And that's actually what a picture of that was, that rotating. It was a person that was giving an ad that was for Velodians, and it was one of those plasma beings, but he was seeing it as SpongeBob. Even though he knows what these beings look like, the third eye doesn't always catch it. The human eyes have to see it too. I just wanted to integrate this. He saw what he didn't get all the context. He thought he was driving his truck around looking for you and other people. You two were on a ship. He was trying to find you. He found his friend Bjorn, and they went into this little capsule thing looking out at a galaxy and stuff that was in space. And it was and he and his friend was worried that he weren't going to make it out of there. And there was this dog-like being that came in the space with him. And some of these are space creatures that will come in. And he saw a dog that looked like it was hunched over, and kind of like a seal dog-ish thing. They look nothing like that, but they act like a dog, like hey, 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 hey. And these are space creatures that come and go from the different quarters and greet people. Again, encoding, decoding, and all it wanted was the food in the fridge because it morphed into a physical form, like the Crichton's father in that scene in Sparscape came into your physics and then wanted to eat, and dug in the fridge and found those little lettuce things he was talking about that looked like tacos. Was looking for anything to eat because they instantly get hungry when they are in a physical form, like anybody would. Like in your Deep Space Nine, when those people coalesced from a non-corporeal to a corporeal form, all they want to do is eat and explore and smell and have sex, things of that nature. That's how some spirit are. They come into the physical and they want to experience all pleasure, from pleasure to eating and all the above. That's what happened with that creature. I wanted to tell you and him that was 100% legit. It's just that the brain wasn't decoding it right, because even you have the experience, it doesn't always prepare you, like the flinch test when the forest people want to do their thing with that. make sure you can handle them and encode and decode them correctly. But this is all I have on this. Do you have further questions for me?
No, just, like I said, happy you're here, happy the timing is impeccable. And, I hope people got something from this discussion, so.
Mhm. Yes, there will be more of these channelings, and I'm pretty sure him and I will have further disagreements, I think. But again, context. I have to emphasize context. You don't always know because you don't always walk in the other person's shoes. And you don't know the context behind things. Again, like the SpongeBob spinning hologram. Like you said, you saw the spinning hologram with your son and him on a military thing one time.
Right,
That's the same tech. It's the same thing. It's or like in Star Wars where you have the holochrome, where you see the holochrome hologram with people talking to each other on there. It's the same thing. That's where Star Wars got it.
so did I see that in the correct context?
Yes, you did.
Bummer.
Yes, you did. Completely 100%.
Ah,
Just like he
sorry.
saw the SpongeBob thing.
There are times when you don't want to.
Yes, it was a
See what you
mission.
think.
It was a mission that all of you were on. I will say this is when you went on your cruise. There was abductions that went on the same as with the spinning SpongeBob thing. It was a mission they went on. Sometimes their people are pulled out and put back. And when he saw you drugged on an island and he was muscle buff again, that's what happened. He saw himself painting like some kind of like shungite paint on some ships and stuff like that, and that's all he remembers. Being all buffed up and you drugged. That's why he felt like crap there.
They had me drugged up, people, drugged up.
Yes, you would have warned him. So
I would have warned him.
yes, about some stuff like this smells bad kind of thing. He was kind of just happy not to feel like crap. That's why he was like,
Oh, yeah, because they buffed him up. They buffed him up, but they had him to.
It was a type of nanosteroid. That's why his muscles felt horrible afterwards. There was an after effect withdrawal that was pretty immediate.
And it was kind of interesting because, again, we went to sleep one night. I had woke up with these, let's call them visions, whatever you want to call them. And
that's why everybody on the ship had nosebleeds. They were all
and you wouldn't believe the number of nosebleeds that people had on that ship that next morning. I was like, holy smoke, whether it was from whatever that was, where multiple people were there, or from I thought it was maybe a lot of people had been implanted in their noses.
Yes, so that's exactly what happened because in that part of the Atlantic Ocean, your ancient aliens always says there's an ancient alien base down there. This is true, but layers upon layers, of course. It's one of our old outposts and one of the Myrmidon's old outposts from ancient times. Even the Great Seeding, there was something there.
Mm-hmm.
Then go on to Atlantis. And the Bermuda Triangle, again, damage from Atlantis, but also there's equipment there. There's an island at the center of it. That's it. Like how Nan Madol is for Micronesia and Lemuria and Mu.
Right.
That's what that is for Atlantis.
I did not see anybody other than humanoids.
Yeah, but there were aliens there.
I know, but I'm just going to say that I'm sorry to say that there were also humans.
Like in your show, The Expanse, where they show the hologram on the girl's backpack. That's the same tech I'm talking about with the little SpongeBob.
It was very wild. I tried to describe it to Chris because I was very amazed by it. Kind of like I always say, for people who are in the service or whatever, you go on a cruise, you go do something, whatever, you have a T-shirt to remember it by.
Mm-hmm.
It was a picture that was on the T-shirt, but it was almost like watching a slow clip movie.
Like in your
way more than just a hologram.
Like in your Harry Potter with the moving newspapers and everything.
Yes, it was more like that.
And that is a real tech. Your Tartarian World Unity has that very thing. So yes,
it's interesting because at the point of me saying this is that some of the customs that the military have, even if they're in more of a ops or into more high tech, some of those customs stay. And so that's my point. The memorializing of whatever you just did.
Yes,
was staying
photographed. Yes, was put on a T-shirt, and they're still selling this damn thing, by the way. They got everybody but you got the T-shirt. And showing him up to everybody else's nipples.
Yeah. So he was made buff, made bigger himself. but he only came up to other humans nipple-eyed, folks.
And that's because
So-
they were nano enhanced to a certain part, but they didn't have enough time to enhance the height. You see, like the Spartans on your
Yeah,
Halo
they made them
franchise.
huge. They would, this is where you would consider somebody a giant, that they made.
Like in ancient
something
times, people went up to people's nipples. That's what they tried to get out of, like, the Spartans in your Halo franchise.
Mhm.
That's when that happened. But the whole point is, it's the same technology like you see in Star Wars, the holochrone,
Mhm.
where they talk to each other or send recordings to each
Mhm.
other. It's a holochrone type technology. Lucas was dead on the mark with that.
Right.
That's how it is out in the galaxy, a mix between Star Trek and Star Wars, the holochrone, and also the secret government project. But I wanted to bring that up because it was relevant to this. So where you guys were recently on something. So, and he was looking for you, but you were off somewhere else with a couple of my lady crew members, and also he was running off looking for you, and a bunch of time had passed, and there was actually a guard following around because he saw a cop, what he thought was a police officer, a fireman, within or a soldier within that what he thought was like a McDonald's like setting with a counter, and the SpongeBob thing spinning, like they'd advertise a toy or something. But there was actually a guard following him around at all times, but he wasn't all there completely. But yeah, but I see why he thinks it's unfair. But still, I believe I will quit babbling at this point. I just wanted to make sure that was validated, but because that was relevant to things you've seen recently, and the inking. So, because it connects to your past as well as now and present, and the elements of future. So, I will leave you now. I thank you at this moment in time. Goodbye. All right. Ooh, all right. That took a while. Yes, her whole ranking is Visa Bree Jalas. Just like you had Visa Shingo of Paradisia, Visa Bree Jalas of Paradisia. That's how that goes. Visa means captain in our language, and Vin means commander in would be translated commander. And so like Vin number. So, and one that you heard of in the Velodian show for GIC was Nidon. That's Vin Nidon. She's a commander. So was in that. So and Shingo is one of his commander. So so I believe I will leave this here. I don't know if you have anything else to add to this.
No.
So okay. Now at this point I close this circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. So thank you, everybody. Bye bye now.